guys, this is Button Masher Z, and I've got what I call a Miracle Archer build. It uses Lightning Arrow, among other spells, and Dark Moon Blade on a raw Corvian Great Knife. That gets about 458 AR, which is pretty sweet for a dagger. And if you'll notice, I have 30% equip load. That means I'm light rolling. It also means I don't have enough defense to really support poise casting. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to call this my flagship duel. This is my first duel in the arena after I reached level 125. You'll notice after I got Tears off, my opponent doesn't let me cast Dark Moon Blade. So I think that Lightning Storm will cover for me. We'll see how well that goes. So now I'm trying to play catch up with absolutely no health left, and I'll have to give props to this guy. He didn't try to use Armor of Thorns or throwing knives to end me. He's not that mean. Unfortunately, it gets him killed. Because I decided that Unfaltering Prayer didn't really make sense with a sub 30% equip load, I dropped the Talisman and Tears of Denial. So instead, I use Emit Force and Lightning Arrow to apply ranged pressure. The goal is to open my opponent up to attacks from the Great Knife. Once I'm close, the Great Knife is a really effective pressuring tool that can force people to either get roll caught or just eat a lot of damage. Anyway, Emit Force will always knock over anybody from a neutral state, and the only way to avoid being knocked over is either to dodge the attack or to use poise. It doesn't seem to matter what amounts of poise, as long as you've got some and you're in a poise-enabled state, you won't get stunned. What's worse is Unfaltering Prayer will also just completely negate any stun from Emit Force, unfortunately. I don't fight many clerics though. Anyway, as you can see, the biggest counter to my build right now is very similar to that of a mage, because I'm not using the Talisman. Pressure is also my weakness. And Fallen Seraphil with the double point down. So if my cleric needs to be played like a mage, that means that it needs defenses like a mage. I've already got the 30% roll, but I can't use Humming Soul Mass. So instead, if I take damage, I use Protected Heal. So like the last match, my opponent is keeping up quite a bit of pressure. He's not letting me heal. If you didn't notice, Projected Heal takes up a good 90% of my stamina, and so it's just not an option right now. Instead, I choose to throw out some R1s. The only poise move he has is Oni Slayer, and every once in a while he throws out R1s. Like that, which are easily interrupted by a Great Knife R1. So this video demonstrates why you need to be aggressive with a cleric. You can't afford to let them back off and heal, like my opponent is now doing. Fortunately, he doesn't get it free. However, I do. He turns to pressure me as I'm healing and drinking Estus, but then he lets me off after I basically get far enough away that I get to regenerate my stamina. And now he tries to heal again. Well, he's given me a chance to rebuff my dagger. And this is why I love the Corvian Great Knife after I knock someone down. Look at the wake-ups. It's 465 damage after a backstab. I don't know about you, but that seems awesome to me. In this match, we find another guy who's really aggressive. Funny crossbow bolt there, but anyway. Once he gets his bearings, he comes at me and chases me down pretty effectively. But then I get to mash R1, and it just shows how much damage this guy can put out if you let it. That's 1100 damage just because he tried to parry me and failed. I found this fight quite amusing. So, this guy's trying to use a passive sword and build against me, and after I heal, he learns very quickly that he needs to apply real pressure rather than just letting me pelt him from afar. As you can see, the emit force really messes with shields. It's a Black Knight shield and it can withstand a hit, but here he doesn't have all of his stamina. Unfortunately, I don't get the riposte. So, even if you had, say, a Lothric Knight shield that can resist my lightning arrows, you can't block emit force meaningfully. Anyway, this guy pulls out the Leyland shield and tries to parry me, but I'm using Blindside. That's the Corvian Great Knight weapon art, and that can't be parried. So, really, joke's on him. He even backs off far enough to let me rebuff my weapon. Anyway, I went for a parry, I mistimed it. That was it, I'm not trying anymore. Everything else is working, I don't really need a parry. I just thought it'd be stylish. Anyway, this fight is over. He tried to parry my emit force, and that just doesn't work. So, emit force doesn't interrupt Unfaltering Prayer, and I have to be careful in this fight in order to use it effectively. It also doesn't interrupt Perseverance, but that's not being used here. I also get a backstab when he tries to use his Sunlight Spear as bait, and I've never pulled this off since. This clip shows that the Lothric Knight shield isn't all it's cracked up to be against clerics. If someone brings up a Lothric Knight shield against Lightning Arrow, just cast emit force, or force, and say goodbye to their shield. Unfortunately for this guy, he doesn't understand all of the moves of the Ranged Knight Spear. All of the weapon art moves can be parried. I have enough time to dodge his attack, switch weapons, and to parry him. He doesn't recover very well from this. He gets away, but then he swaps to the Gotthard Twin Swords, and he probably should have stuck with the spear because that would have been great at pressuring me. Now here, I'm shooting all of these projectiles at him, and he can't handle it. We can see that emit force let me duck under him, and since he has poise on his curved greatsword, I didn't get to knock him down with emit force. Now, this fight, I just love. It's in here just because I just took him out. Nice, clean hits between attacks and backstab to finish it all off. This guy played a very good defensive game, but here I show how good it can be to free aim Lightning Arrow. And if I'm completely honest, I'm also showing off my skill at free aiming Lightning Arrow. It's... I've got to say, I'm rather proud of that. I haven't exactly been doing this for days and days and days. Today is like my 4th day after creating the build. This guy plays very well defensively, but he really underestimates how I can free aim the lightning arrow. He's been trained by all of the other players that the clerics using lightning arrow lock on, and it's just miss. Well, I don't miss. There's nothing that actually happens special to this fight. I just wanted to include all of the fights with this guy, because something does happen in the next 3. I actually play too well in this match to trigger the events that lead to what really make this encounter interesting. So this time my opponent is using the crow quills, which are a decent weapon, I guess. I don't like them. The reason I don't like them is because I don't think their range is very good. Now, despite their range, he eventually figures out how to pressure me rather well, and he gets some good damage on me. Unfortunately, my build is centered around being able to heal off damage, because I don't really get the defensive options that a mage does, and I'm comparing myself to a mage. He notices, and he gets, I'm gonna say it's upset. He's applauding, but I'm pretty sure he's upset. It becomes quite apparent in the next 2 matches. See, my opponent really appreciates my skill in the last match, so he's obviously applauding my efforts. Anyway, he starts with some nice aggression again, and right there you see why I hate the crow quills. Their range is horrid. For a rapier, that's really bad. Get some more pressure in on my own end. Now I'm in a dangerous state again. I could be killed, but he's backed way off. I heal, and he gets upset again. If you'll notice, emit force actually works at longer ranges than it's animated. He tries to do a turn and burn, sort of. And just eats the damage for it. He starts out the same way he did the last match, until he stops applauding. Immediately he runs away. Here I'm just really happy with how many nice close shots I make with the arrows. He's rolling them appropriately, but I'm free aiming them really nicely. Even emit force at an opponent I can't even see. Anyway, I fast forward. There's just a whole lot of the same because he's running away. I tried to use emit force to knock him off of the tower. It didn't work. It didn't have as much big range as I had hoped. And then we see the power of R1 yet again, as if anybody is surprised. 865 damage from just smashing that button. Now that should be a tree. I've fought this guy a total of 3 times with this build. The first time he used the Profaned Greatsword, and he must not have appreciated being melted by a dagger. The second time he used this combination, the Fontaine Knight Curved Sword with Black Knight Shield. I was playing too defensive and rolling away with too many poorly timed rolls. I'm not sure if they were panic rolls, but they weren't good. Anyway, this time, I throw out a few more R1s.